Hello, dear hearts. Blessings on this full moon in Aries. Full moon in Aries, which is taking place right now on the 17th of October and the 18th of October 2024, depending on where you are on this globe. This full moon is surrounded by various sextiles, which are complementary angles that support connections and deepening of understanding of one another and the power points and the dynamic of all that is connecting. When we look at the Aries Libra Aries axis, we exalt beginnings, support beginnings, leadership, renewal through confident stances, and identity coming from a healthy self and a healthy direction, which is wanting to strive towards good leadership examples and definitely empower the physical form through the right kind of routine and, again, dynamic when it comes to personal relationships, because the opposite energy is Libra. Libra is all about divine equipoise, the sacredness of the balance of the polarities, which is masculine and feminine, having that inwardly and throughout, being aware of it, relationships, unions, marriages, ex-marriages. It's also very much about enemies, hidden enemies, and any form of professional network. But the theme is partnerships when we're looking at the Libran energy as a whole. And Libra energy is Venusian driven. It's Venus driven. It's ruled by Venus. Aries is ruled by Mars. So once again, those are the two planetary bodies that are working with the masculine and feminine energies in representation of what is man and woman, so to speak, as well as a force away from the solar and lunar energies, second to that, of course. So this Aries Libra axis, very strongly placed with this full moon, is talking about emotional new beginnings. It's talking about honesty in our commencements. There is a drive and a force of wanting to lead and do what is right and exert our energy, because Aries energy is all about exertion. We have to tackle what we want, and we're very keen on an example that needs to be set, right? Individually, we must pay attention to where Libra and Aries sits in our own personal star map. And we need to also highlight the fact that Chiron is working very dearly with this full moon. Chiron in Aries has been working very dearly with all of us for quite some time now. And the message continues on and is indeed amplified because Lilith is in her 9-month transit through Libra, the Black Moon Lilith. And that is activating Chiron, the wounded healer. They do wonderful things together. They're a great team. And now she's very much in a healthy opposition with this full moon in Aries, and has been sitting with the eclipses as well, because we are still in the eclipse season dynamic. And this end of year isn't one that kind of, fizzles out. It actually rises. It's full of energy. We have the comet still visible in our evening skies that will continue to fly past us and be there until the end of the month. As the sun shifts into Scorpio, the comet will slowly lose its visibility and dissolve from our vision. So comet-related energy is powerful, especially since this one was only recently discovered, and we might not see this particular one for over 80,000 years. There's no guarantee, though, because, the great astronomers have said that depending on how things happen out in our space, we might get to see this one again, but there's no guarantee. Generally, it will take about another 80,000 years before this one will ever be actually visible to us. So it's a rare sighting of this particular comet. And personally, I feel that there's a spontaneity always when it comes to planetary activity, especially when it comes to asteroids, meteors, comets, and so on. So we might get to see this one again, and very closely. It all really depends. Let's see. But right now it's visible, and it is activating the solar season of Libra season, and it's dissolving from visibility as the sun enters Scorpio. So we have extra added power, empowerment coming from the skies at full speed, coming from comet visibility, the eclipses that have been happening on the Aries Libra Aries axis with a a touch of Pisces, because that's where the lunar nodes are heading after the current nodal axis, which is again Aries, Libra, Libra, Aries. After that, it will shift into the Pisces, Virgo, Pisces collective directional message and what we're moving from. So right now we continue to learn from directional naught point, ground zero, which is Aries, leaving behind so much of what is Libra as a collective. The black moon Lilith in Libra is also there in her 9-month transit. We have about 5 to 6 months left of that. And she continues to heal all that was in terms of our relationships, our partnerships, the collective understanding of the dynamic of working with each other, and where that's failed us as a collective. Personally, relationships are on the very severe spotlight, right? They're under very severe spotlight because Lilith is there and Chiron is in opposition, and this full moon is in opposition. So what we're doing in October is we are coming to terms with the relationship with the self, ideally the healthy self, and how that can be of service to the whole, as well as looking at all our actual relationships, who we've been with, our marriages, our ex-marriages, our partnerships, professional and intimate. The energy around enemies as well, especially hidden enemies, will be something coming to the forefront, because Lilith working with the South Node and the full moon and Chiron in opposition, in a healthy opposition, brings about also the visibility of where people have wronged us. There'll be a lot of circumstances exposed, a lot of truths being revealed. Where there's been deceit, there will be honesty, integrity, and a request for it. Anyone who has been our enemy, who has done wrong to us, who has deceived us, who has taken us away from our authenticity, also where we've done that to others as well, we will come to terms with where the dynamics have been false and where they've been sincere. Who are our real friends? Who are really there for the greater purpose? Who are really there to serve a greater purpose alongside us? We will learn more about this, and it is an intimate journey, because when we look at the Aries Libra Aries axis, we're looking at the most intimate, intricate makeup, which is the relationship with oneself and other, right? So the balance and the play of that, and how we are able to provide service to the whole, to others, through our own unique contribution in a healthy way, working with exalted Aries, as well as understanding the value and importance of union. Libra rules divine union. Libra rules the capacity to beautify dynamics, connections, to bring harmony to that, to bring so much elegance to that when it is exalted. Every astrological point has a degenerate point, has an average point, meaning a general basis of an understanding, and an exalted peak area where we're aspiring to rise towards. So for a lot of us, this Aries Libra axis has been much easier to work with the eclipses and with the directional energy, as opposed to what we had prior to that, working with Taurus and Scorpio and Taurus, which would have actually been much more frightening, because too much would have been dug up and excavated. And we would have had to come to terms with a lot of what was hiding deep within us. So if we go back, just a little bit back in the not too distant past, in 2022 and 2023, we would have understood how that was working through us, and the teachings of this directional energy of the lunar nodes. And now, with the continuation of the theme, coming to that ground zero point and getting a little bit of a taste of what's coming thereafter, which is linked to Pisces and Virgo and Pisces in terms of a collective direction, heading towards Pisces, of course, and departing from themes such as Virgo, is going to be an interesting shift, and that's much later on, considering Neptune is at its absolute last expression in Pisces before it goes into Aries in 2026. And I appreciate that Neptune and the directional node will teach us something when we look at 2025 and further ahead. So we have had tastes of what that means for us personally and collectively with the recent eclipses as well. But we continue with the grander, more impactful, stronger theme, which continues to be directional Aries, and departing from Libra, as well as understanding Libra. Departing from represents learning from where the themes of such an influence has wronged us as a collective and as an individual. Hence why relationships are so grandly on the spotlight. You know, we could have been involved with someone for 20 years, or we could have had a dynamic going on and on and on for more than that, right? And because of all that's taking place in the skies, the keys to understand the essence of those dynamics would have freed us, and can in fact free us, from false bonds that have sabotaged and taken us away from our authenticity, that have deceived us, that both parties were not in it for the same truthful freedom or potential, right? So people may say, well, what's the point? You know, why do such things happen? Well, they happen all the time. You know, we're bound to so many circumstances because of what we have done in the times gone by, and we have to revisit, in a cyclical pattern, we have to revisit everything that we've ever gone through until we break the spell, until we're free from whatever the teaching of that dynamic is. And if we don't learn, if we don't divinely ascend, divinely evolve, and take the right course of direction, especially inwardly, in every dynamic that we are faced with, we will somehow revisit them again and again and again in different, shapes, textures, and styles. You might ask yourself, why do I keep attracting the same kind of pattern in terms of a relationship dynamic, or why am I always in this type of situation or circumstance, right? Again and again and again. And even though the forms change and the appearances change, there's a pattern that's the same. There's a tendency that's the same. And this is exactly that. You can look at it astrologically and say there is a cyclical movement that you need to be very much exposed to see, so that you can be free of it. And the tools required to do that are all very personal, because each of us have a unique contribution to the whole. So we're constantly having our own unique cyclical tendencies and patterns and movements. And sometimes it's not exactly cyclical. It can also be a bit wonky in the way it moves and can be erratic, but it somehow comes back. And this is where planetary influences are so important, because individually we are so capable of learning from the planetary bodies what that unique movement is in different themes in our lives. And that's where skilled and authentic lineage holding astrologers can help, because they can give you the tools and the means to break free various sorts of spells that are, when I talk about spell, I'm talking about that which binds, that keeps you somehow enchanted in something that perhaps isn't exactly what is best for you. So, yes, we keep revisiting. We will keep revisiting patterns until we're free of them. And relationship dynamics are on the forefront. They're on the spotlight. Lilith is there, so she's bringing up all our wounds around relationships. She's bringing out all our pains, all our misunderstood points where we haven't been seen, where we haven't been understood. She's also bringing out a bravery towards allowing for endings to happen in relationships that have gone cross the limit of acceptance, wherein we have to be willing to say enough and no thank you. And she will also bring out visibility to where enemies have been hiding, who has been actually eating away at our resources, eating away at our capacities, at our inner world as well, because we've allowed certain entities or circumstances have access. What in our own mental pattern is eating away at our resources, eating away at our capacity? What is stopping us? What are the obstacles, basically, with the dynamic regarding the relationship to self and how healthy it is, as well as to the whole and to the world around us? It's an incredible time for healing, because Chiron and Lilith work very well together, as I've said, especially when they're in such an attractive opposition. They will be able to heal the whole at very belly deep levels. But because it's Aries and because it's Libra, it comes with confrontation, discussion, exposition, things being put out there, enemies being made known publicly, going to people directly and confronting them and finding out what's happening, taking a stance, being very honest and clear about, where you're going versus where you feel others are leading you, and vice versa. So, can romantic beauty and love and the experience of an honest, authentic, true union take place despite all of this healing and cleansing? In my honesty, I can tell you that yes, it can, because generally when there's so much amplified capacity of healing and transparency that is being forced through these incredible placements such as Chiron and Lilith, full moons like this will not only give us confidence to be very willing to go in the direction we're supposed to and start anew on an emotional frontier, which means from an inner world of sense of deeper longing versus rational understanding, right? So we're getting propelled through our emotions, through our more deeper states of degree of what we value, of what it means something to us. We're being directed through that and wanting to go and do what we're supposed to, working with the Aries energy and the directional energy, which is action-oriented, which is Mars. And then having, Libra season continue to be with us with the high voltage energy and blessing of the Comet, which has its own teaching. And I've done an extensive 35-minute talk on that, which is open source on YouTube. So please have a look at that as well, because it will complement what you're hearing right now. So that will support on an energetic level, basically dosing us all with the energy needed to push forward. And especially if you're a light worker, especially if you're striving for the greater good, if you're really here to serve the greater good, if you really care, if you're really doing your best for everyone and for yourself and for this planet, you having that intention will naturally be cared for from such powerful planetary influences. And Libra season, again, hand in hand with the South Node, hand in hand with Lilith. So coming out of all that was, stepping towards a directional energy being Aries, which is a new beginning, which is a commencement point, which is the chance to be really in that stateless state, where the ground is completely barren and you're going to get the fertilizer going, start to cultivate it and prepare for something new. And Libra being in the South Node with the Sun there and Lilith right now does heal our past relationships, brings to term with every place we've ever been, who we've been there with, who's done wrong by us, who's helped us. It opens the doors to healing and forgiveness. It opens the doors to forgiving oneself, because it's normal to feel like you've betrayed yourself if you've teamed up with people that have harmed or have caused harm. It's normal to feel that you have, crossed some inner line as well. So forgiving has to happen in a 360-degree way. We have to be healing the choices we've made by being gentle with ourselves, as well as forgiving others, which doesn't actually mean that we're falling into some state of weakness. We're not allowing for such difficult things to take place again or harmful patterns to take place again. What we're doing is we're forgiving and releasing all of what happened, letting go of all of what happened, offering it all back to the source energy, to the universal source energy, just offering it all back and letting it be, and continuing on with our own unique contribution to the whole with the best intentions, with the highest degree of care and concern. And we don't need to look back after this point, Directional Aries does start brand new, and it needs to, because if we're working with, for example, the symbolism of the traditional tarot, we look at Aries as the Fool. We have so much knowledge of everything we've ever been. We have so much knowledge of everything we've ever seen, of everything we've ever tasted, touched, heard, worked with and understood. We have really got it all with us, but we are still going to believe in the potential of what's ahead. We're going to act like we're juvenile. We're going to act like we're brand new, fresh. We haven't, in fact, ever lived, but we have, you see. That's the Fool in the traditional tarot. We're still going to believe in what's ahead. We're still going to try and believe in the capacity of what's ahead because of our own intention. Again, coming from an altruistic point that cares about the masses, the greater good, that cares about the state of all. I wanted to make this full moon in Aries update very personal, so we can all get that personal message. In my other talks that I've released simultaneously, there is a collective theme working with the message of the Comet and the Enlightened Lineages Rise offerings that I have put out there as well. And I think coming back to the personal, unique contribution to the whole is of the most paramount importance, because we all have it in us to contribute grandly. And no matter what, if we're doing it right in our inner world, if we're doing our best in our inner world, if we're really authentically trying with all our hearts in the most sincere way, you can't fail there. That in itself serves everything. It is the greatest offering. We just need to work in that inner terrain and do our best from that inner terrain, and it serves everything in the most wonderful way. And again, with the traditional tarot, looking at Aries and looking at symbolically the Fool card, that wish to just trust, that yes, directionally, let me try again. Let me go for it again. I've done it all before. I've seen it all before, but I'm going to act like I haven't. Let's try this again. Let's believe in the quest. Let's try this again. So going for it wholeheartedly with belief like a child, not the wisdom of a crone, belief like a child, but secretly also having the wisdom of a crone, because we've done it all before. We've seen it all before, but we have to still trust to keep going. And that is in the greater good, in our greater state of being, and the capacity of humanity, what we all share in common, our capacity to return to our authenticity. Okay? So, lastly, many are talking about Pluto in Capricorn at the last degree, of course. I would like to say Venus is also at the last degree in Scorpio, which I very much enjoy. But we'll see that more often than Pluto in the last degree in Capricorn, no doubt. Now, well, am I happy about that? People have asked me. I can't say I'm happy about it. I think 29 degree it's a spectacular degree in any point in astrology, as well as 0 degree. I appreciate them both very, very much, because you're not really on Capricorn, nor are you on Aquarius. You're somewhere else. 0 degree Pluto in Aquarius, as well as 29 degree Pluto in Capricorn, to me, are both in their own unique dimensions, and very different as well. So how do I relay this to you all so you can understand it in a tangible sense? We're not exactly anywhere right now when it comes to Pluto and what Pluto's doing. We'll start to be in Pluto in Aquarius when we hit the 5 degree point. We'll really start to establish ground in what that means for us as a generational shift, looking at the next 20 or so years ahead. But what Pluto in Capricorn has not been in its last 5 or 6 degree marks. It has been more so Pluto in Capricorn when it was Pluto in Capricorn at 15 degrees, at 20 degrees, at 8 degrees. Do you understand my point? So you need to look at that, at the events that have happened on a worldwide level then. Because as we go towards the shifting point of an actual sign, there's also a shifting point to the meaning, and it doesn't no longer sit as firmly as it would in the sign. So what we're experiencing of the Capricornian final messages in the Pluto emphasis are not just that. They're trying to make us go back to the entire Pluto in Capricorn teaching. This is just the finale. And the finale is actually the real shocking part of what it has done to the collective, because it ends brutally. That's what Pluto does. Everything it has been. It's got a self-destructive quality, but it still bears a torch of what's to come, glimpses of what's to come. So when you see the destruction point of such a planetary shift, you can't really claim it as being a Capricorn or an Aquarian theme. You're just trying to process everything that has happened up until now in terms of that energetic influence being Pluto in Capricorn all that time. Do you understand? And what's ahead for Pluto in Aquarius? As you know, I have the mystery school. It's very detailed. Pluto in Aquarius is a long transit, and it will be more than we can digest. And very different, of course, to what Capricorn energy offers on a collective level. So you can always request and sign up for that as well. There's many hours of discussion there, but it's a wonderful thing to request and have and opt for. Keeping in mind as well that the Lilith in Libra remaining message for that theme is also available. You can ask for that. I do have the general Lilith mystery school, which is 10 hours or so or more of data that is worth everyone's time if you want to really understand Lilith, not in a misunderstood way, but for what she actually is in astrology, in symbolical terms, in ancient myth, in astronomy, in the whole thing. And looking at the personal message for all of you once again with this Aries full moon, well, it helps us. It helps us because we can fight for what really means something to us, and we can also take action. We're not going to be held down anymore, especially this next lunar cycle until the next full moon. You'll definitely feel a surge of power and force. Venus will be going into Sagittarius, which naturally gets us out there and adventurous, and that's also a wonderful thing. But yeah, keep your hearts very much aware of what I was saying about relationships on the forefront and the healthy capacity of relating to the self as well as other through all the points mentioned, the revelations around hidden enemies, who's wronged us, where we've wronged others, really forgiving and healing and releasing ourselves from relationships and dynamics that were not really for our truest growth point and capacity. Some things may appear as being really awful, but could have been huge blessings in disguise. Some things could have appeared to be really wonderful, but have been actual grand obstacles. We can never classify anything so formally. We have to just go with what is being presented and continue to aspire for the best. And through such planetary influences, trust in the capacity for true clearing to happen, healing to happen where it needs to. And when we're surrendering to that highest potential within and throughout, it tends to happen easily. We just somehow surrender to a greater truth, which is definitely within us as well. So yes, I look forward to see your photos of this full moon and to receive your whatever you wish to share, and perhaps even the photos of the comet. Venus is also beautifully visible. There are so many wonderful visibilities of planets and stars available in our night skies at the moment, including the Pleiades. So it's a great time. And keep praying, of course, with all your hearts for the collective, more grander worldwide messages that are still testing us all. But we have the power to change things, because our hearts and our capacity to heal each other in the world is much more grand and vast than it may seem. So never doubt it. And let's keep doing our best. Thank you so, so much. May all be auspicious.